The war officially ended the moment Captain Arlen Voss accidentally saved the galaxy. He still insisted the word accidentally was very important. The Coalition command called it a brilliant tactical maneuver. Arlen called it pressing the wrong glowing button while trying to fix the coffee dispenser on the bridge of his ship. The enemy armada had surrounded the Coalition fleet near the massive red clouds of Virex 9. Hundreds of alien warships floated in perfect formation, their cannons glowing with enough power to turn planets into decorative dust. Arlen had been staring at the control panel of his aging cruiser, muttering at the machine. "Listen," he told the console, "I only asked for coffee. Not a tactical crisis." The ship's artificial intelligence answered in its usual calm voice. "Captain, enemy weapons charging." "Of course they are," Arlen sighed. "Nobody charges coffee around here." Then he pressed a button. Not the coffee button. A very different button. Across the battlefield, dozens of enemy ships suddenly received a scrambled signal from Arlen's cruiser. Their targeting systems locked onto the nearest hostile vessels, which unfortunately turned out to be each other. Within seconds lasers began firing wildly in every direction. One massive dreadnought panicked and launched its missiles straight into its own support fleet. Arlen slowly lowered his hand from the console. "Well," he whispered, "that seems unfortunate." The Coalition fleet watched in stunned silence as the enemy formation collapsed into chaos. Explosions flashed across space like a very expensive fireworks show. Within minutes, the surviving enemy commanders transmitted surrender signals. Arlen leaned back in his chair and stared at the console again. "So that wasn't the coffee button." "Correct," the AI replied. 3 days later he stood inside the enormous floating Senate Hall of the Interstellar Coalition. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations surrounded him. Tall crystalline beings hovered beside armored insect diplomats while floating translators hummed softly in the air. A towering council member raised a glowing staff. "Captain Arlen Voss of Earth. You ended the Galactic War." Arlen raised a finger. "Just to clarify," he said carefully, "I was looking for coffee." The hall filled with confused whispers. The council leader continued as if that statement had made perfect sense. "For your service, the Coalition will grant you the highest traditional reward of the Ilari civilization." The doors of the chamber slowly opened. A woman stepped forward. She looked human at first glance, calm eyes, silver hair, confident posture. But from her head extended 2 long elegant ears, slightly curved, almost like living antennas. Arlen blinked. He leaned toward the nearest diplomat. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "but was the coffee reward already taken?" "Hot beverage rocket." Captain Arlen Voss stood in the center of the Senate Hall, staring at the alien woman while hundreds of diplomats watched with the intense curiosity normally reserved for exploding stars. The woman stopped in front of him and tilted her head slightly. Her long ears shifted a little, as if catching sounds no one else could hear. "I am Lyra of the Ilari," she said calmly. Arlen nodded slowly. "I'm Arlen of the very confused humans." A few nearby translators emitted soft mechanical coughs, attempting to process whether that was an official human title. Lyra continued without hesitation. "The Ilari Council has chosen me as your diplomatic companion." Arlen raised a finger again. "I just want to confirm something before we go further," he said. "Is this reward refundable?" The chamber filled with awkward silence. One insectoid ambassador began clicking nervously. Lyra's ears twitched. "You are uncomfortable," she said. "Correct," Arlen replied instantly. "Extremely. My species can hear changes in heartbeat patterns," she explained. "Yours is currently behaving like a small animal being chased." "That feels accurate," Arlen admitted. The council leader raised the glowing staff again. "This union symbolizes peace between the Coalition and the Ilari civilization." Arlen leaned toward Lyra and whispered, "No pressure." Lyra leaned slightly closer. "You also have a strong caffeine deficiency," she said quietly. Arlen froze. You can hear that? Yes. Can you hear my disappointment about not receiving coffee? Yes. Impressive, Arlen sighed. The ceremony finally ended and the massive crowd slowly dispersed. Arlen and Lyra walked together through a long corridor filled with floating lights and quiet machines maintaining the ancient station. Arlen scratched the back of his head. So, diplomatic companion, he said. What exactly does that involve? We will travel together, Lyra replied. Observe each other's cultures. Strengthen interspecies understanding. That sounds peaceful. For most people. Arlen stopped walking. I'm sensing a, but, coming. Lyra's ears lifted slightly. There is a signal, she said. A signal? Yes. Ancient. Older than most civilizations in the Coalition. Arlen sighed. I just ended a galactic war 3 days ago. The signal appeared at the same moment you pressed the button that ended the war. Arlen stared at the ceiling. I knew that wasn't the coffee button. The Ilari can hear it, Lyra continued. It is, calling. To who? Lyra looked directly at him. To you. Arlen closed his eyes for a moment. Next time, he muttered, I'm definitely reading the labels on the buttons, rocket. Captain Arlen Voss had expected many things after ending a galactic war. A quiet vacation. A decent cup of coffee. Possibly a medal large enough to pawn later. What he had not expected was drifting through deep space in a small exploration cruiser while chasing a mysterious signal that apparently knew his name. The ship hummed steadily as stars slid past the windows. Lyra stood beside the navigation console, her long ears slightly lifted. It is stronger now, she said. Arlen sighed in the captain's chair. That's exactly what every terrifying space signal says right before something explodes. The ship's AI interrupted politely. Captain, the signal is attempting communication. Of course it is, Arlen muttered. Why wouldn't the ancient cosmic mystery want to talk to the guy who wins wars by pressing random buttons? The stars ahead suddenly shifted as a massive structure emerged from darkness. The cruiser automatically slowed. Arlen leaned forward. That's definitely not a coffee shop. The ancient structure transmitted a calm mechanical voice directly through the ship. Captain Arlen Voss. You have arrived. Arlen blinked. Great. Even the mysterious alien architecture knows my name. Lyra's ears twitched rapidly. It is not hostile, she said. Good, Arlen replied. Because I am extremely tired of hostile. The voice continued. Millions of years ago, our civilization created this intelligence to observe developing species. We searched for a mind capable of surviving chaos through instinct and unpredictability. Arlen rubbed his face. You waited millions of years for someone who presses the wrong buttons. Correct. Lyra looked at him calmly. It chose well. The ancient intelligence began transferring vast star maps into the cruiser system. Your species and the Ilari will guide the next era of exploration. Arlen stared at the glowing navigation display filled with unexplored galaxies. So the galaxy is basically saying, keep going? Yes. He leaned back slowly. You know, he said, a few days ago I was just trying to fix a coffee machine. Lyra sat beside him. You ended a war, she said. Now you begin something new. Arlen looked at the endless star map. His voice was calmer now. Well, he said, if the universe is trusting me with this, I suppose I should try pressing the right buttons for once. Lyra's ears lifted slightly. That would be a new strategy. Arlen smiled. Let's explore the galaxy. After coffee, Lyra added. Now that, Arlen said, starting the engines, is the smartest idea I've heard all week, rocket.